chilling tales for dark nights.
The Twist by Guevara. Don't read this because it actually works, the on-screen message cautioned. Now that you've started reading, you can't stop. A girl named Kathy drowned to death. If you email or repost this comment to 3 more videos, tomorrow will be the best day of your life. If you don't repost this comment on at least 3 videos, Kathy will come for you when you're sleeping. This is so scary because it actually works. Billy examined the warning. He hemmed and hawed over it, scratching his chin. On any other day, Billy would have done what the message said. After all, he didn't want to die within 3 days, and he did want to have the best day of his life tomorrow. But today was different. Today, Billy was 8 years old and far too mature to be entertaining such nonsense. Besides, he had tried following the instructions of such chain letters in the past, and his only reward had been receiving nasty replies from dozens of people on the internet. Hesitantly, Billy placed his mouse cursor over the red X at the top right of the email and clicked. The email closed, and as it did, Billy felt shivers run down his spine. Being just 1 short decade from adulthood, however, Billy, of course, paid such absurd sensations no mind. Rather, he got up from his chair and headed to the kitchen to locate his mother. He found her in the kitchen, taking a steaming dish of Billy's favorite meal, tuna casserole, from the oven.
Now, Billy, remember, this is for lunch tomorrow. Don't eat it before bed, or it'll give you nightmares.
Giving him a peck on the cheek, Billy's mother turned to leave the room, but before she did, she called to him over her shoulder.
I'm going to work now. Make sure you're in bed in a few minutes, all right?
Billy nodded. His mother left the house, and he heard the slam of the front door. Billy was all alone now. It was time for him to turn in for the night, and he didn't want to have any more frightening thoughts. But the casserole, it looked so good. Surely, he thought, a simple taste would have no effect. With the aid of a step stool, he sampled the irresistible dish. It melted in his mouth and filled Billy with a sense of euphoria.
So good. Oh my God.
Surely another taste couldn't hurt. Billy cut himself a portion and took it to his bedroom. After messily devouring the meal, the young man fell asleep. Sometime later, Billy awoke with a start and found himself in darkness. He heard a noise in his room. It was a creeping, sloshing noise, like that of a boot sinking into a muddy puddle. At first, Billy imagined that it was his mother returning home from work, but after checking the digits of his brightly glowing digital clock, he realized that she wouldn't be home for a few more hours. The sloshing sound continued. Billy sat up straight, listening intently. He crept downstairs and saw muddy footprints leading straight into the front hall of his house. Now, Billy was truly frightened. Suddenly, he felt very much like a child, far too young to be a part of such a fearsome world. He considered bolting out of the front door, but Billy calmed himself down. Perhaps it was simply his mother, home early after all. Billy crept after the footprints, choosing to ignore the knowledge that his mother would never trek such a mess through their house. He had to be sure. The footprints came to a dead stop in the kitchen. Billy poked his head through the doorway and turned on the lights. There, sitting on the kitchen table, was a girl about his age, eating the tuna casserole. Her hair was matted, wet and black. Her skin fetid and rubbery. Her eyes glowed as red as his alarm clock upstairs. Billy stumbled backwards, crashing against the wall before sliding to the ground. The girl rose from the table and advanced steadily in his direction.
What's wrong with you? I'm just...
Billy wouldn't listen to the she-witch's horrible taunting. He tore past her, scrabbling for the nearest weapon in the room, the tuna casserole. Using all the strength he could muster, he smashed the heavy glass dish over the girl's head. A steady stream of blood poured from it, and the girl collapsed to the ground. The tuna casserole was now spread across the kitchen floor, like some bizarre sort of noodle, cheese, and fish confetti. Billy was relieved, certain that at any moment now, the girl would evaporate into a puff of black smoke. Instead, the girl just lay there lifelessly.
Okay?
Billy wondered for a moment whether he had made a mistake. He nudged the girl a bit with his foot, but she continued to lie unmoving where she had fallen. Looking outside, he noticed that it was raining, which probably explained her hair and the boots. Realization dawning on him, Billy shook the girl frantically, but there was no response. Through his tears, Billy noticed the girl stirring. Completely unsure what to think, Billy grabbed a piece of glass from the shattered casserole. He grasped it so tightly that blood formed at the edge of his palm. The girl rose from the floor, and one of her hands immediately shot toward Billy's exposed throat. As she choked the life out of him, she simultaneously reached down and began calmly eating the tuna casserole. Billy awoke with a start. His chest puffed in and out as he steadied his thoughts. Looking around, he perceived that the previous events had all been a horrible dream. There was no crazy demon ghost girl after all. He took a deep, relaxing breath, but then noticed something wet on his hand. Looking closer, he saw the glass he had taken from the tuna casserole, and the bloody wound where it had pierced his skin when he had held it too tightly. Billy awoke with a start. Before doing anything else, he looked at his hands. Completely clean. Absolutely no blood, no signs of conflict. Everything was right with the world. It was still dark out, but his mother would be home soon. Billy looked around and then allowed himself to relax.
Thank God I'm done with these nightmares.
He looked up and saw the girl again, this time in the doorway, holding a butcher's knife. Billy awoke with a start. Not ready to be fooled again by his dreams, he first checked his hands. They were clean, totally free of blood. Then he cast a glance at the doorway. It was vacant with nary a soul in sight. He held his breath and listened for any sign of muddy, sloshing footsteps, but all was still. Nevertheless, Billy was terrified, and so crept out of his bed and decided to wait on the couch for his mother's return. He grasped the metal banister and began his slow descent downstairs. As he did, he looked around, desperate for signs of foul play. Spotting none, Billy made it to the couch and waited for his mother to arrive. After a few minutes of this tense, nerve-wracking vigil, his mother, back from her night shift, greeted him with a smile.
What are you doing up so late?
Billy's eyes filled with tears.
I've been having these terrible nightmares. I had some of the tuna casserole and...
Billy's mother shook her head.
Billy, you haven't been having nightmares. You are the nightmares.
Billy's mother's head exploded into a writhing snake. With sodden, snarled hair and venomous fangs. Her arms twisted, transformed into laughing clown heads, while the rest of her body oozed red pus. Billy could do nothing but watch, paralyzed with fear, as the thing which was once his mother descended upon him. Billy awoke with a start. For a few hours, He was too afraid to do anything but silently sob to himself in his bed. He didn't care anymore. He just wanted the nightmare to be over. Billy knew that this was nothing but a bad dream. Sure, there were no signs to prove it, but undoubtedly there would be soon. Billy ran downstairs just as his front door opened.
Billy, what are you doing racing around the house at this time of night?
Billy ran past his mother, knowing full well that at any moment she would become a beast of unimaginable horror. Billy only had one destination: the Luger that was hidden deep downstairs in a safe. Billy knew that if he could just get his hands on the gun, he could blow his brains out, and the hellish hallucinations would be over. His mother chased after him, shouting things that his real mother would scream.
Get back here, Billy! You should be in bed by now! You ate the casserole, didn't you? Where are you going?
Billy paid her no mind and instead headed down to the basement. He spotted the safe. Billy's mother couldn't keep up with him and was now only pursuing him at a walking pace. It would give him enough time to do what he needed to do. Billy knew the combination to the safe, something his mother did not realize. The Luger was his father's, and now he planned on putting it to use. He input the combination and quickly retrieved the pistol from its place, just as his mother burst through the door to the basement.
Billy! Billy! Put that gun down this instant. Now! Now! Now!
But Billy wouldn't fall for her tricks. Not this time. He placed the gun to his temple and closed his eyes.
Billy! No! No!
Billy pulled the trigger. The bullet went clean through his brain, and his lifeless body crumpled to the floor. His mother fell to her knees in despair. After hours of crying, she phoned the police. Several officers showed up, asked her questions, and took her into custody. Billy's body was bagged and transferred to the nearby morgue. The following day, the story of his tragic casserole-fueled suicide was printed in the local newspaper for all to see. Who are we kidding? Billy awoke with a start. He rubbed his temples.
That's it. No more tuna casserole before bed.
Chilling tales for dark nights.